Good morning, my name is Lori, this is Honey. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. Today it is Blabfest Friday, so we have several things to talk about, including those little quilts in the back. Topic number one is always block parade, and you can see there are some blocks back there that are finished. Let me share them with you. Here are the blocks from Monday when we added the berry vine. Here are 5 weather blocks from the month of September of 2024. Here is the little quilt top that I'm going to have Sadie help me finish for her doll, Big Boy Donut. Yes, I said Big Boy Donut. And here's some close-up of the fabric. So this week, it's not a person, but it's a place. Last week, as we were talking on Blabfest, we were going leaf peeping, and Honey went for a bit of a field trip. Stop trying to chew on me. And she had a great time going for a car ride, but the leaves and the tunnel of trees were not as impressive because of the warm air coming from Lake Michigan. So here's a quick shot of what we saw at the tunnel of trees. Not as fantastic as you would think. And here are some other trees that we saw closer to home. Topic number 3. As you know, I've been watching Tracy Mooney, and she has been talking a lot about organizing her UFOs. So I found a photo album, and I thought, wow, this would be better to organize quilt projects than these fantastic boxes that I have. Because in a photo album, you can turn the pages and see all of the things that you have. So I had some refills or some filler pages, and I made this project book. I got the idea for the project book from a different channel. I don't even remember which one, but she just sews some index cards together and uses them in each box that she keeps her projects in. I think it was Sew the Distance, maybe. So by combining these two, I have a video to show you how I made this little project book. Let's go. Here is a quick video about my project book, and I did use Dr. Pepper cardboard, and you can see it, but this is just for me. You could use other cardboard that wouldn't show. Maybe I should have flipped the cardboard around. Let me show you my project book very quickly. It is stitched here through 2 layers of cardboard that is just folded. The inside is a Reader's Digest, because I wanted something there to cover up that edge of the fabric. And here are the pages. Each one has an index card. There are 3 pages So there's, at the moment, there are 6 index cards. There's the back and the back. Now I have this bag of scraps that has iron on. I could cut little flower out and embellish the front and kind of cover up it. To look at it, not in the camera, you really can't see through the cardboard, through the fabric, and see what's printed on the cardboard, but I could embellish that in all kinds of ways, rick-rack, all kinds of decorations. So this is just, I could throw this in a project box, it wouldn't take up much room, and I could write all kinds of notes. Let me show you the things that I used to make this. And all of these are, well, they're not free. I used some web, iron-on fusible web. I used this to hold the paper on because I didn't think I had enough of an iron-on fusible, but I did find another piece of iron-on fusible. It was in with something else, but iron-on fusible is how I held the fabric on. Then I rolled it around to the back and used some of the iron-on fusing web. And then I used an old Reader's Digest, and I looked for pages that had more words than pictures, because sometimes when you put an iron on the picture with the color, it smears. So I was looking for things that had words, and I used a fancy pair of scissors to trim out around. And here are the pockets that I found for 50 whole cents, and they've been sitting around for a while. And when I pulled these out, I noticed that, oh, it's just a thin heat seal. So I sewed along this edge and along this edge so that it was even, and then I used that heat seal as my trim line. And I had 3 pages, and it's an opening at the end so I could put the cards in. And when I sewed them together, I shoved this end up into the cardboard and sewed right across it, so it is stable and the opening is still out there on that end. So it did not cost me much to make my little booklet. And like I said, Chris O'Neill at Sew the Distance, and there I have a couple pieces of cardboard, Diet Dr. Pepper, to make another one. Chris O'Neill at Sew the Distance, she said that she just uses index cards and sews 2 or 3 of the index cards together, but the old Singer sewing machine sewed through 2 layers of this plus the pages with no problem. Now I do know that when I sew like that, I need to change my needle more often or use an older needle that really isn't good for anything else. So just to give you something to think about, another way to organize. And I think this book probably took me 15-20 minutes to make, and that was really thinking about and intentionally making it the way I did. And I could have taken a couple more minutes to embellish. Maybe I'll do that this afternoon. Anyway, an organizing way to think about. Something you can see easily when it's not tucked in the box. Topic number 4 is out of sight, out of mind. So I have something to show you that is really out of sight. I bet you didn't know these even existed. Let me show you. I'm going to hand hold my camera for a bit for this segment, so I hope that I don't give you motion sickness. Here is the corner of my little sewing area. You can see my ironing surface and where I keep my little bead containers for the moment. I have another place where I keep bigger beads. Those are just seed beads. Anyway, here is this white sewing machine. And if you really want to see out of sight, and I come over and pull this drawer open. To get to the out of sight area, I have to open this drawer and then reach up in, and there is a tab to flip. And there is a hidden secret drawer. Now, when I bought this machine, it had this old address book and some photos, like a real mystery, and an old letter. See, I put them in here, old photos. And some of them were ripped in half. And there are things written on the back of these photos. And it seemed just like a sad story. But anyway, back to this hidden drawer. Let me flip it over. It has a hidden drawer that locks because this hits and keeps you from opening that drawer unless you reach up in there and push that in so that the drawer can slide out. I kept looking at that drawer. I had to find a video, and even then it just said the secret drawer in the white sewing machines. So that is really out of sight. I hope you enjoyed looking at this secret spot. Out of sight, out of mind. Topic number 5. We found no yard sales again. Now, there have been times in November there are yard sales here in Michigan. Yes, in November, but not this last week. So we went to the thrift store, and we did find some treasures. I showed you already my photo album that cost me a whole quarter, and then I found some quilt books. One is a border book, and it is line drawings, but I am good with line drawings because sometimes colored photos interfere with the creative process. So line drawings and very good details. I still haven't figured out what they're talking about with repeats, but I will figure it out. And I also found this Ruby McKim book. Now, I have one of these in West Virginia already, and it is filled with articles by Ruby McKim, and I think she wrote for the Chicago Tribune. I'm not 100% certain of that, but it's in the book. It talks all about it. And there are not patterns per se in the book as so much as there are pictures and ideas. And it says somewhere in the introduction that if you want patterns, you can send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the newspaper and they will send you a pattern. And I guess there was a fee for that. I don't know. Anyway, the first book I bought was stamped $2.95 on the back. And this is copyright 1962. So I paid at a used bookstore $12 and some odd cents for the first copy. This copy is stamped $5.95, and I paid 50 cents for it at the thrift store. I was thrilled that it was so inexpensive. And my last find was this cute little wall hanging that is a recipe for how to make a quilt. And the person who made it, I think it was the woman working at the counter, she even quilted the letter Q into it, all over it. So cute, so adorable. But a few little finds for this week. Topic number 6, challenges. Well, my challenges this week and next week and the following week are pretty much the biggest challenge is packing things to stay in an airtight container so that it will not pick up any interesting smells. And here are these big containers. And packing things that I'm working on once in a while to go back to West Virginia. And so here is the pile of project boxes that are making the trip, and getting everything in the staging area so I don't leave anything behind that's important is the challenge. What do you do when you need to pack up, move, or store things? What containers do you use? Give me a hint down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you do. Good morning. We are looking more at the March-April 2003 edition of American Patchwork and Quilting Today. Of course, I bought it for this. Will this quilt show up today or is it next week? We will see. Last week we left off with a table runner. Ah, look at this one. This is a fantastic quilt. They called it Mississippi Wheel of Fortune. It is very graphic and very bright. I like this quilt a lot. I like the points and the swirl, and I believe it has some hand stitching. Oh, they did some paper piecing, and it talks about the center, and it looks like rickrack. It is rickrack along the center, and it looks like hand buttonhole stitch along there. And then they inset it. I think for stability purposes, I probably would have appliqued it right on top of a solid square. Because I preferred a machine quilt, that would have been all right. And then there's an edge. That is probably paper pieced also. I love this. Mend a Broken Heart, and they talk about this machine. I think the old singers, you really could mend something like your arm if you cut it off. Oh, there's more on the topic of the Mississippi Wheel of Fortune, and there is the setting edges. And they did a swirled pinwheel. Very nice. And there is an article about Mary Englebright. And her whole, that looks exactly like her house. I love watching YouTube videos on designers and studios and studio redos, and what a cute little house. Cute, cute, cute. Queen of quaint. And I think that probably describes her pretty well. Oh, and look, a crazy quilt, except this one is different than the patches I've been working on because I know that these blocks are much bigger and they are embellished by machine. So let's take a look. They start out, I know they start with like a 12-inch foundation, and then this is in the neighborhood of 10, and they make the blocks, but after they do each section, then they embellish before they move on to the next round of pieces. And that is very cute. I like how they used the darker border, and then they pulled colors from the border. And that looks like Mary Englebright fabric. That is all for this week, and we will be back next week with more from this magazine. Topic 8, everyone's favorite, viewer contributions. And we have some good ones today. Diana sent a picture of her King of the Mountain block. I love how she used fussy cut fabric that looked like mountains in the middle of her block. It draws your eye right to the middle, like a big surprise. That is fantastic fabric, and your block is very cute, Diana. She also sent a picture of a table topper / ottoman topper for a family member. Family member gave her the fabric to use, but didn't give her any guidelines what size it should be. So she figured if they don't like what her creative muse told her to do, then she'll end up with a new wall hanging or table topper. It is cute. That fabric, when it is cut in smaller pieces for that block, blends so well. Let's take a look at a close-up of that fabric that you used. Very nice. Nice work, Diana. Thank you for sharing with us. We appreciate your inspiration. I hope that you have enjoyed our little blab fest for today, and that you got an idea or two about something that you can do or organize. Organize. I hope you have a delightful weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday for Upskill Monday and a brand new set of stitches. See you later. Hey, please remember to like and subscribe. Make my day.